Thank you both for coming on the Fast Traack podcast. We're delighted to have you on the Fast Traack and to continue some of the conversations that we started at Impact London. So before we get into that, I'd love to understand your journey on how you got to where you are today. So Bella, let's start with you. Can you share a little bit about your journey of becoming the head of influencer and partnerships at Lipton? Rumor has it that you've moonlighted as Vanessa Hudgens on a shoot earlier on in your career.
Yes, that is true. Hi, everyone. I'm Bella Clark. I'm currently the head of influencer and partnerships at Lipton Teas and Infusions, as Taylor mentioned. My career has been a roller coaster, to say the least. I started my career in New York, actually at a tech startup, and I was doing, let's say, wearing every hat within influencer PR, events, and it was for a really high-end concierge service. And we did private events for our members. So we once did a Coachella event where we had a house and we, did the whole shebang. And we had hired Vanessa Hudgens to be in our show reel. So we had Shay Mitchell, we had Vanessa Hudgens, we had Ellie Goulding, Rita Ora, like all these really awesome stars. And of course, amazing influencer celebrities. And Vanessa Hudgens was going to be in this like show reel that we were making for the company. And we were in the desert. Imagine like at Coachella, you're in the desert, and we had rented this really cool convertible that was in this teal blue. So the shot was meant to be her driving in this convertible in the desert, going to Coachella, hair in the wind. And the car broke down in the middle of the desert. And hours of filming and whatnot. And eventually she had to leave set and we didn't get the shot. And so when the car finally started working, my CEO was like, Bella, you kind of look like Vanessa Hudgens. You got the dark hair. You kind of got it going. Let's get you in that car. We're just going to do like the back of your head so you just see the hair. And yeah, that takes me to me being a stunt double for Vanessa Hudgens.
That's amazing. I need to see this photo.
Yeah, I need to get a hold of the show reel. So that was the start of my career. Let's say I started really high, on a high note. And then, throughout my career, I moved to agency, actually. So I was at an agency in New York working for Broadway musicals, which is totally different, and started to enter the beauty world there as well. And then I moved to Amsterdam 6 years ago. So I'm originally from Texas, but been here for 6 years now. And I started my career here at Coty. So working for Rimmel, which Thuy has also worked on Rimmel before with us in the UK. And prior to that, I had done consulting work for a number of brands in Amsterdam. One of them being Bloom Effects, which is this beauty brand that's based off of tulips. It's made of natural ingredients, made of tulips. And Thuy also was one of the amazing talent that we flew over for our first ever influencer event, where we took all the influencers to the tulip fields here, which was just like such a magical experience. So beautiful. And yeah,
so beautiful.
And then, I was at Rimmel for a while, heading up also influencer and partnerships there with all the beauty creators. I was on a global side of things, so doing all the strategy work, and then moved over to Lipton almost a year ago now. So heading up also the global side of things. So really focusing on strategy of influencer and partnerships for over 80 markets.
Incredible. What a fun story. I love it. Now, Thuy, let's turn it over to you. We want to hear your full story about how you've become a massive content creator. Can you tell us just a little bit about how you started to become a professional makeup artist and how you've landed major deals like the Nyx brand partnership? Our audience needs to know how you came to your massive stardom.
Oh my God. Well, firstly, I just have to say, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. It's my first ever podcast. So I'm so honored to be here. But honestly, I feel like, whenever I watch these podcasts, compare yourself, like, oh my God, like, how did this person get here? But when I think all the way back, like, I have just always been one of those like average C- students. I remember I failed my driving test like 4 times. I passed I remember I didn't pass maths until like the fourth time. And I was just always one of those students that was just never really good at anything. Until I discovered the world of beauty, I feel like that was always one of my hobbies and one of my biggest passions. So I basically got started into beauty because I was really insecure about my skin. And I felt like I was just always one of those people that would always just browse like through Boots and just like try to buy everything for like acne and like spots and pimples and stuff. And I've just spent and then I kind of always loved makeup. Like my older sister, she was always into like makeup and hair, so I used to steal her makeup and put them on in school. And I feel like ever since then, that's when I really realized like how much I just love beauty and how much it can just transform you and just make you feel so confident. And I actually started being a makeup artist a day after birthday. And I actually was just walking past a makeup counter, and someone approached me saying how much they love my makeup and would I want to interview for a job. And I was like, oh my God, yes. I was like 17 at the time. And honestly, I just felt like as soon as I just started working as a makeup artist, I was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing for the rest of my life. And I feel like it's kind of evolved. I've just been in beauty now for over 14 years, which is crazy. But I always have loved doing makeup, but especially on myself. So I remember whenever I would have like a call time at like 5 in the morning, I would wake up at 3 a.m. to do my makeup. So I've always been that type of person to really enjoy doing my makeup. Like I feel like it's such a nice time to like get ready for the day and kind of like spend that self-care time on yourself. And I basically started posting content about my clients, but then whenever I'll do my makeup nights, I'll kind of post that online, and then I'll just get so much more like comments of people asking me like, oh, how did you do your makeup? So I actually used to be a super shy person. I never wanted to like speak. I was almost like really like quiet. I wouldn't really speak unless I was spoken to, and I feel like that's kind of really evolved over the years. I kind of started my journey actually on Snapchat because there wasn't Instagram stories at the time. And I was like, okay, let me just start going on Snapchat because I felt like the stories kind of expired after 24 hours. And then I'll just get so many comments and questions saying, oh, can you upload this onto YouTube? The stories don't expire and they can like rewatch the tutorials. And then that was like a good 7 years ago. And I've just kept posting on YouTube ever since.
Well, I guess it's a good thing. Thank goodness the math and the driving didn't work out, right?
Exactly. So yeah, if anyone's watching this and you're not good at driving, just know there's a passion out there for you somewhere.
That's exactly what we need to hear. I love it. So I also love how at Impact London, you said that if you want a long-term career as a creator, you have to be thinking about your brand image and ask yourself when someone comes to your page, what do you want to be known for? So as you started posting some of your videos, were you thinking about what you wanted your brand image to be, or did it sort of unfold organically, or what do you think, like, how do you think about all of your years of experience and all of that posting? Like, do you ever look back and think things are cringy, or like, how did you create your brand image? Because personally, I look back at stuff that I posted years ago. Oh my gosh. And it's horrifying.
Yeah, like even last week, I'm like, what was I thinking last week? No, I've definitely gone through the stages. I feel like social media has just grown so much through like different platforms. But I do feel like when everyone is starting out, I feel like everyone starts off kind of like a hobby. It's kind of like a little side thing, a little side hustle. But I think it's until you actually take the time to really make that mental, I actually really want this to be something, and you kind of take it a little bit more seriously. I think that's when you start to think a little bit more about like brand image and kind of think a little bit more like, I guess you could call it now strategy wise, but back then it was just me sitting down with a notepad like, what do I want to be known for? And I feel like if anyone's watching this and you're kind of thinking like, oh, do you leave your job? Like, how do you know when it's time to leave your job? When you kind of take the time to really realize that like, one of my biggest sayings is like your business gives you what you give it, and if you treat something like a part-time job, it only ever stays something like a part-time job. And I think when I made that mental switch of like, no, I'm actually going to try to like put all my eggs in one basket and just take that leap of faith, I think that's when I realized that like You just have to like keep going. And like that is when I really started to realize that the more you show up, the more you kind of realize like what the videos that you actually like doing, what are the videos that kind of resonates with people, and then you kind of use your community and you kind of like see what videos they're engaging with most, and then a lot of times the community actually tells you what they want, so you kind of like work into and then just keep showing up. I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned, especially doing this for so many years now.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what about, do you feel like your brand partnerships have impacted that as well?
Yes, I definitely think so. I actually feel like a lot of my brand partnerships has happened just from my organic. Um, I always feel like that's when like the best partnerships always happen, when I just feature the product just naturally myself, and then it's like, oh, like a couple weeks later you get like an email pop through, or maybe you can also use the brands that I feature a lot. Then I can also use that as like, oh, maybe we can see if like we can set up a partnership together. So I always try to only really accept any partnerships that I'm like their products, and I feel like if anything that has probably molded more of my content rather than the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Very interesting. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And so I think one of the most fun and exciting aspects about the industry is the fact that it moves very quickly. So I think every year there's new social channels, new mediums, different trends that are happening. And so I think that we can say that both creativity and adaptability are some of the biggest superpowers that both marketers and creators can have in the space. So Bella, I'm curious to hear about how your team at Lipton builds innovative campaigns and events. So I know you've hosted some amazing influencer events, and like, what is the creative process that goes behind that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really hard to stay up to speed, especially as a brand. Things do change so fast. So I think making sure that you're set up for success as a brand. I like to take a step back when I join a brand and go, okay, like what is the overarching cultural strategy of the brand? Because you're going to have proactive moments and reactive moments. So proactive is obviously the moments that you know exist and are going to happen, right? It's the product launches that are set in stone. It's the Christmas, the New Year's, all of these things, Ramadan, everything that's like set in stone that you know you're going to do something for. And then there's the reactive moments where you never know when something's going to, brat summer or demure, like all these things that you kind of need to hop on right away, because if you're too late, you're too late. Like you can't do it now,
right.
You need to do it then. So it's first of all setting up like the structure, I think, of the company, of the brand, of the teams, making sure that you have all strategies in place for the proactive and the reactive, which I don't think a lot of people realize how much work that takes and how big sometimes the teams need to be. It's a lot of work to make sure you've dotted the I's, crossed the T's. So when something comes up, like for instance, what we did with Lipton for green tea, for instance, like this was a proactive moment more because we knew that we had green tea. We had our, let's say, tagline, and we had the TVC, so the TV commercial that we were running, and we had this tagline of 2 cups of goodness and talking about the health benefits of green tea. But then the issue was that it wasn't really resonating with digital culture, so TikTok, Instagram, influencers. Like no one really understood what flavonoids are, which is a compound that's found in green tea that's really good for you. For those that don't know, think about like an antioxidant, like a blueberry. So it was like, how do you get this message across to the digital world of what this is in like a really cool, fun, easy to digest way? So kind of took that back and said, okay, what can we do to make this cool, right? What can we make this like so people want to drink green tea for their health? Because it's maybe not the sexiest subject, but it is, because health is great, right? So I thought, okay, let's get influencers to talk about it. Let's get wellness influencers to talk about it. Let's get lifestyle creators. Let's go to LA. That is like the hub of health, wellness, influencers, creators. We had Paris Hilton come and DJ because she's like, she's just amazing. and all these other thought leaders in the industry come and talk about health and wellness in general. There's this whole sober curious movement as well, so how can we tap into that? So I think that's kind of how that came to life very quickly as well. That came to life in 3 months, which anyone that comes from corporate world knows that is like groundbreaking to make. Usually we is 9 months, a year in advance. So I planned that whole event from start to finish in 3 months.
Wow.
Which was crazy.
To get contracts done and everything and space, I mean, that's insane. So incredible. Yeah. Bravo.
We didn't even have a like agency of note. So usually if you're listening as a brand, you would typically have an agency that you have on like a retainer or something. So I actually had to also pitch to agencies and have RFPs back from 3 different creative agencies. So bringing in a creative partner to help me bring this to life, also crucial. On the brand side, I think having creative partners is just really invaluable. You have your internal team that's also amazing, but sometimes you need that outside perspective of like, is this cool? Is this creative? Will this land with, the audience going after? So I think also having that soundboard, that outer soundboard is invaluable. And that's,
amazing. So it's like you were able to take culturally relevant people and moments and pair it with your brand message to make it resonate, which, I mean, I think that's the exact point of having creators, right?
Exactly. It's like, how do you insert yourself into pop culture and be relevant, and I think creators are, of course, at the helm of that. And you see like huge brands doing it so well these days. It's hard to keep up, and it is constantly moving. So you also need to find the creators that are super authentic, like Thuy was saying. Right. Brands that she authentically just talks about go after you, because of course, us as brands, we are listening to everything that you are doing. So any creators out there, if you want to work with the brand, authentically use it. And then trust me, they're listening, we're watching, we're listening. And we see if you really like our product, hey, let's open the conversation, and start that relationship, because that's what we want as brands nowadays is authenticity. We want people that really resonate with the brand.
Yeah, I love it. We talk a lot about the balance between authenticity and creativity. And so it's always super interesting to hear both the brand and the creator side. And so, Thuy, I'd love to hear from your perspective. So as a content creator, like obviously you're getting invited to a ton of events or different brand campaigns. So what are your favorite partnerships that you like to be a part of?
I've definitely been on some amazing brand events and brand trips and stuff, but like the thing that I really think about, like why I actually go to events, because I've been doing this for a while now, so I realized the reason why I go to a lot of events is because of the people actually behind the brand. That's probably the biggest reason, actually, because we built a relationship. Like we go out for like dinner sometimes, and a lot of times actually it's like because I built such a good relationship with them that I just want to like show up and support them. And especially when it's a brand that I like love already, and then I love the team behind it. Like, those are my favorite events to go to, because I feel like sometimes there's like a mixture of events. There's some events where there's like 300 people at the event. So sometimes that can be as a creator. And those are the ones that sometimes I feel like I don't lean towards those the most. But when it's like an intimate kind of like lunch or like a dinner where you can actually have time to spend with the brand behind the team, right, those are the ones that I really make an effort to go to those ones, because sometimes when you go to the ones where there's so many people, I don't feel like the PR even knows I'm there. Yeah. It's like you're just another number. That's how it feels sometimes. So I really do value the events that I get to spend time with the team. And then also, we also love, as a creator, like a good photo opportunity or like a good photographer there, trying to get content for us as well. So yeah, those are what I really value. And that's probably like how I pick what events I go to these days.
Okay, that makes sense. And do you feel like that offers you the opportunity to get to know not only a little bit more about the brand, but maybe part of their creative process as well, like things that they're thinking about or ways that you can collaborate together?
Yes, do you know what? I actually think it's really important to kind of go in there and like mingle as much as you can. It's like an amazing space to kind of go to, and there's so many sorts of life, and it's so nice to like network. There's always that saying like network. I think that is always the best, and to also know the people behind the brand, because sometimes when you go to events, you kind of just think like, oh, this has just happened and it just popped up here. But like even just hearing that like it took you 3 months just to plan an event and that's classified as quick, I'm like, oh my god, as a creator you don't even get to know these type of things. It's so nice when you get to talk about brands and talk to them and get to know like the behind the scenes of everything. I find it so interesting.
Thuy, you didn't know that Bella has been slaving away to get you at these events, but now you know she's been working.
I love it. I mean, it's an amazing point though, right? And like, I think that for anyone listening too, every PR box that you guys get, it is someone like me or someone on my team that is literally and notes, we handwrite notes. And so it is, and so it's like, it's literal people. I think sometimes people forget.
Yeah, but it's hard. I think it's difficult to make those connections, right? And so actually events are an interesting way where you can start to build those connections and you can learn a little bit more about the brand and they can learn a little bit more about you and what you're interested in, the type of content that you want to be creating. So at the center of everything is really the relationship that you guys are building, which is why I think this podcast is obviously super interesting because that's what people want to learn more about. So thank you guys for sharing. Super interesting. And I love it. So we have some rapid fire questions about the industry. So first question is for both of you guys. So I know there's a lot of trends on social, but what trend are you seeing right now that you think is too hyped?
I don't know, too.
I am over the clean girl makeup trend. Okay, this is no beauty trend focus, but get a little bit more foundation, put a little bit more powder, a little bit of concealer. I am a bit over that trend, especially for winter now. I feel like it's time for party season. We want the glitter to come back. We just want to have a little bit more fun with makeup. That's for me personally. What about you, Bella?
I don't know. I love that though. Second that. I have like minimal makeup on now because I came from a work day, but I love full glam as well. I'm full glam girly. So I totally couldn't agree more. Gosh. I don't know. I can't think of anything right now. I feel like there's maybe not trends, but something that I'm seeing that I'm a bit like, I don't know if it's kosher to say on this, but I see a lot of brands sending influencers like really extravagant gifts. And I get a little bit like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't feel right. Like I won't name names, but I see a lot of like people getting like Hermes bags or blankets. Their own brand. So it's like sending, I don't know. It's not maybe it's not a trend. I am seeing a lot more of from big brands. And it's just, I don't know too, if you have like a perspective on that. I mean, hey, that would be amazing if like, I'm sending you a Birkin, right? But
yeah, Bella, send me a Birkin, please.
Right, send me a Birkin. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. I feel like even as a creator, sometimes it's like obviously it's so amazing. Like sometimes you just come over like, oh my gosh, it's Christmas. It's so cool. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like with PR packages, they are so big and extravagant. And sometimes we get like foundation, which I do understand they want to kind of show that, oh my God, there's so many foundation shades. But also as a creator, sometimes you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all these products? Like you just can't help but feel guilty. You just feel like it's a little bit wasteful. So I do think that, I don't know if it is a trend again, but that's something I think anyone watching us working in the PR department maybe be a little bit more mindful of that, because I think as a creator, sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know. So we end up doing giveaways and like, it goes to my family and stuff. But even my family, they're like, I just need one blusher. I'm like, oh, take these.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think I've definitely seen a lot of like the sustainability piece, like about how wasteful the packaging can be. And so I know that there's definitely like conversation about that. And I think that's existed for a while, but I've also interestingly seen some content recently about some of these massive PR packages that have gone out and people just critiquing to be like, hey, did you see that X brand sent all of this stuff out? And this week, no one's using their products. So I think maybe it's a question of like, how do you effectively do mailers in a way that feel authentic and aren't over the top? And you know that the people who are going to receive those mailers are actually like really excited to get that product, which I think is tough, especially if you maybe don't have that relationship with the creator.
Totally. Oh my gosh. And this was like a subject actually, and I would like love to hear that from your side too. It's like, yeah, what do creators like? I don't want to send something that like no one wants. Yeah, it's a tough one because you want to be
introduce a brand, right?
Yeah.
Do you know? I think it's one of those things that I think a lot of PR people are a bit more like they kind of email first to let you know if you want to opt in or opt out of mailers. So a little bit more. Me as a creator, I love trying the products. I'm like, yes, but I do really appreciate when brands do kind of like email you or let you pick the shades as well. Because sometimes I can imagine some poor girl's behind the screen trying to color match me. I'm like, oh, that is not my color.
We used to have to do that on Rim.
So yeah.
Email, be like, what, or like to your agents or managers, like, what color? Yeah, because they don't want to send you like 25 colors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, pro tip right there. Ask your shade before sending.
I think there's also another thing where they also send like a Google form, and then on that form it's just like literally you just quickly click and it has like the photos there of like either swatches or like color references on there, and then we can just say like, can we try these shades? I always find that kind of always lean towards better, because sometimes I like my foundation a little bit darker, even though it might look like lighter online because of the cameras and stuff, you know. So I think it must be so hard for you guys to color match, but I think the little Google form was also really helpful for me anyways.
Yeah, shameless tracker plug. We have functionality where you can ask creators those types of questions and they can be saved so that as you're managing those relationships, you always have that on record and you know exactly what to send your creators so that you're not sending them a bunch of different shades that aren't going to work for them. So it is possible, and it's more savvy than a Google form. No offense to Google. I love Google, but it's better.
I put a suggestion out there for anyone on the tracker team listening. Can there be something like that, but for the influence perspective? Because sometimes I'm like, oh, I really want to try like a new vitamin C, for example. And then I'm like, I don't know what brand. I would love as a creator to maybe go on tracker and be like, oh, is there any brands that like, you know, you cater towards someone with like oily, acne prone skin or something like that where we can submit things as well. I want in on this too.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to submit this to my product team. It's great feedback. I think we're getting there. Because ultimately we know how important these relationships are. So it's good feedback because yeah, I mean, if you are looking for something or you do want to try something and you are in the space, what a wonderful way to actually get the products that you're really interested in. So I will share that idea. So many pro tips coming from this podcast already. Okay, moving on to our next question. So back to trends. What trend do you think people are missing out on?
Ooh, I've got one. I am a huge wellness girly. I'm like obsessed with wellness. And my new favorite thing is mouth taping. So if you guys do not mouth tape, you got to start mouth taping. It helps you like sleep so much better, and it helps with your jawline. It forces you to breathe through your nose. So chisels your jaw, nice face structure, and it helps you sleep. And I have an Oura ring, and so I track my sleep every night. And like literally my sleep goes up so much every time I mouth tape. So that's my favorite.
Oh my God, I love that trend. No, I've got an Ultra Human ring, and I love my Ultra Human. It kind of tracks your sleep at nighttime, but you don't have to pay a monthly subscription for this.
What? I'm looking.
I know, new technology. Okay, I would say something that I feel like is missing, and I feel like could be tapped into a little bit more, is that kind of like human touch element to a lot of campaigns or like strategies and stuff. Sometimes I feel like these days I think people are kind of overseeing everything as like perfectly curated and stuff. I think people these days crave that human element where they feel like something is like relatable. Like even recently, like the brands that I really pay attention to is like when I go on their TikTok and it's like you can see the behind the scenes of like making the event or like showing what it's like when they try the fit model on, and it's like rather than just showing the product all the time, it's more about building that connection with the brand. That's something that I definitely look into. Like even when I'm buying products, sometimes before I used to just go to Instagram and look at the pretty photos, but nowadays I actually discover a lot of brands through the personality and like the behind the scenes and like seeing the team together and just making like silly videos and stuff. And then if anything, that's when I'm like, oh, I just lightly see the product in there, and then that kind of sparks my interest rather it's very much focused on the product, if that makes sense. So I definitely feel like that personal element is missing a little bit, and I feel like that could be tapped into a little bit more, especially from the brand side, I think.
Yeah. So Bella, you can film all of your 9 months of slaving away and doing the packaging and doing the planning.
Yes.
I literally
film the RFP process.
it's if I had time to film all of it, I would. Maybe I should hire someone to film me at work. I try. I'm trying to do like the day life at work for my personal TikTok. But that I agree more with too. I think the brands need to be more authentic and show more like flip the camera on themselves. There's just a lot of red tape in companies. It's
Yeah.
the thing, but I totally agree with that too. I second it.
I love it. Okay. So now, Bella, if you were given $1 million for your influencer marketing budget tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Ooh, gosh. I would so much I want to do. I have so many things I want to do. So everything. I would say if I didn't already have in place a always on strategy with having like a cohort of influencers, creators to consistently post for my brand. That would be my number one. So finding authentic creators that resonate with my brand, with whoever my target demographic is, and then have like long contracts. I'm a big fan of ambassador programs. So, having a year or two relationship, like really foster a relationship with these creators and bring them into everything. Like Thuy was saying, like we had this on Rimmel actually. We had creators that actually helped with our innovation as well. So like, hey, you guys want to see? Like, what product should we launch? What should we name it? What color should we do? So I think bringing creators more into the brand and seeing what we do and, helping each other and then having that constant conversation, I think is so important. And I would definitely put my money there if I didn't already have a program in place for my brand.
I love it.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I always feel like, even for me, whenever I get like campaigns, I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool if we done something a little bit more long term. Obviously, it's nice when you just get that one video for that product to shine, but I did read somewhere that apparently it takes like someone to see a product 7 times before they make the purchase. And I feel like if there's like a long term partnership there, it's like it doesn't have to be like full on video all the time. It's more like integrated into quite a few videos, and then I feel like that always looks so much more authentic as well.
Yeah, totally. I think as a brand, like that's the gold standard, right? Or at least that's what I preach. The brand that I'm on is like, we have to, exactly. It has to be like in every, random videos, not every video, but it's like you're just authentically using it, and maybe you're doing a different style video and it's just there, it's not super addy, like, it's more authentic. It's just woven to your typical content.
Love it. So Thuy, if a brand came knocking on your door begging to work with you, which brand would it be and why would you want to work with them?
Oh my God. There's so many brands that I love so much. I think thinking about that question, actually, the one brand that I am like a die-hard fan for is Apple. I feel like everything that Apple does, even when there's stuff that Apple does, I'm like, why did they do that? I'm just always gonna be an Apple girly. So I love everything when it comes to their iMac, their iPhone, their iPads, and I love how everything just seamlessly like links together. And their branding, their style, the way that they've changed, just having PCs and computers at home, I love that so much. And every to their like big reveal of the products and stuff, I love their products. But I would love to be able to even like help maybe like consult them and maybe like do workshops with them and maybe help like other creators on how to shoot content and how to edit the content. Like that would be like my ultimate dream, or anything like that where it's like a workshop and we kind of like other creators kind of bring them, share all of our tips and ideas and how we do things. I feel like, especially as a creator, sometimes like, this is the way that I do it. I'm like, how do you do it? Is there a quicker way to edit? So anything that's collaborative, that is like my ultimate dream.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, if you think about it, so many creators are probably using their products to do their day-to-day work. So it would be such a logical partnership. So I am throwing that into the universe for you so that hopefully that partnership comes to life for you.
I'm manifesting. We're manifesting, guys.
Yes, manifesting for you.
2025 is the year of you and Apple.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question for both of you guys. What is your main prediction that you have for influencer marketing in the creator industry in the next 1 to 5 years?
Ooh. For me, I actually think that I actually saw this the other day, the idea of social commerce, where it's basically like a lot of buying products and selling products through the actual app itself. So I recently just done like a TikTok live for Clean and NYX Cosmetics, and it was in their L'Oreal head offices, and it was so amazing. Like they had the whole camera crew there and everything, and we actually launched products like on the live, and they done like limited edition like discounts and like free shipping and stuff. And I think it's an amazing way to get that instant like feeling like, oh my god, you can't miss out on this. I feel like that's like the next wave. Or I even feel like there's probably another app that's going to come out where you just go on there to like buy products and look at reviews. I feel like there's something really special about live that it's probably not utilized enough, because I think there's only a certain type of content creator that can do that type of content because it's very full on. But I think it's such an amazing way to connect with your audience, to get like even like I know there's a lot of content creators that actually just go on lives and they just do their makeup on lives and just chat with them, and they build like a new audience just through lives. So that's what I think is kind of going in the future. I did hear that YouTube is now launching like where you can buy products through YouTube now as well. So that's what I think things are going, e-commerce type situation.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think in Asia we see a lot more of that. I think like the lives are much more common, but it will be interesting to see if we see some of those trends come. I hope they do, because I think they're super interesting to watch. I think it's a different dynamic than like heavily edited content or content that you have, you know, time to produce. Like the live is definitely a different dynamic. And I think social commerce, we're seeing it with a lot of different customers, but I think obviously working with creators on that piece is, I totally agree with you. I think it's going to change in the next few years.
Yeah, the problem that I'm finding right now with a lot of these lives is that it's very like selly, like, and you have to keep repeating yourself all the time. I'd be a little switch where it does bring back the human element, where it's literally like, we're just doing our makeup together and I'm just gonna link all the products, I'm gonna talk about them and maybe like ask the audience like, what products do you want to see? More like that style. I think right now they're trying to push it, but it's very like, buy this product, oh, this product 20% off. I feel like that's a little bit like down people's throats. So I definitely feel like once that kind of wave gets put in, the more natural kind of content will lean in, where you do get that human touch again. I feel like that is definitely where we should be pushing it, I think.
Totally agreed. Yeah, you don't want it to feel too salesy or like an infomercial or something like that.
It's giving QVC.
Yeah.
It is.
And Bella, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think, at least on my side of things, I think I see a massive impact of AI on content creation and creators. I think both from like how creators use AI tools, I don't know, to create content at scale, and on the brand side of like how we manage campaigns and how we analyze data and drive better, data-driven insights. And I think really niching down, I feel like influencers moving into more like hyper niche and like really community driven marketing. I think it'll be interesting. This is more of like, I don't have the answer and I don't know, but with the whole rise of like AI influencers, which I personally find like scary and I'm not a fan of, I'll say it right here, right now. Like I don't like it. I think that there's that authenticity that you're losing, right? Then you're really just trying to sell something. There's absolutely no authenticity. And I think it's, I don't know how the landscape will change, but it will change with AI influencers, AI in general, with, data reporting and how creators are making their content. It'll be super interesting, I think, over the next few years as AI is like rapidly changing the game every day.
Yeah.
I agree too. I'm super interested in seeing where it goes, because I think for content creators, obviously creating content is so difficult. And so there's probably elements that can make it a little bit easier, which makes sense. But the authenticity, I think it's a big question about how do you actually keep that? How do you make it sounding and feeling like your own content? I agree with you on the AI creators. I feel like it's bizarre to me, but I guess we'll just have to see what happens in the next few years.
Scary. You guys see that Coca-Cola released a all AI TV commercial.
No.
No.
Yeah, it's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I don't like it. It just feels so inauthentic. And then it's also like, I don't know if we can talk about it on the podcast right now, but like that it's a lot of jobs as well. Like this is a creative industry. Like we're writing the commercial, the producers, the directors, the talent, the makeup artists, like it is a huge production. So I get it from a brand like wanting to save money and finding cost efficiencies, but at the same time, you're losing that human element and the authenticity of the actual production. I don't know, it's quite sad, and I'm very interested to see the next few years how it evolves. But I will keep fighting the fight of real humans, real creators.
Me too.
And that authentic connection in the community, I think, is so important. So I'm hoping element remains and continues to grow, even, especially with community-driven initiatives and really niche communities.
I couldn't agree more. Well, we will all watch and see what happens, but thank you both for joining us today. It was wonderful to chat with you. And I know that our audience is going to be super excited and love all the tips and tricks and insights that you shared. So thank you both, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, guys.